Action.
There you go. We always have to do the, is it on? Are we live?
We're live.
Cool. You want to start? You want me to-
Yeah, I'll do it. So my name is Tom Blotzer. I'm down in Houston, and main purpose of what we're trying to do here, my partner, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Richard Berry. And we're together in the same room, same place, Houston, Northwest Houston.
Right. So the main purpose of doing what we're doing is, you know, in this world we have trials and tribulations, and, you know, I've come to realize that listening to others' experience and how they've got out of the bondage of self and situations and learned to live a freer life. And so that's the main purpose, is we're going to share our experience, and once in a while we'll read books and discuss books and talk about how it affected our lives, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. I think you kind of hit on something that's, well, it struck out with me, the bondage of self is really what our problem is, what, you know, whatever it is. I mean, kind of the way I got here and the way you got here is, you know, through recovery from addiction. And it's really kind of what got this started, what got me started. You know, our literature and our program tells us we need to learn stuff from other books and stuff, so that's why we bring in other books. But the main point is, I think the overall, as we go and everything we read, you know, what we find out is, you know, it's the enemy is within. You know, we're not the first ones to say that or anything, but it's just, you know, we want to share our experience with you to see if you can see yourself in it, and maybe find a way out of that bondage of self.
Absolutely. So let's look at the book that we've been reading. It's called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. We consider this a little bit more of a lighter read, but it does have the basic fundamentals of, you know, removing that bondage of self and taking accountability for your actions, and you know, basically just living a different way, you know, getting away from the 99 percentile of this world and getting into that 1 percentile that lives a free life. So what are your first thoughts on the first chapter there, Richard, about David Ponder?
Well, I think a little bit real quick about Andrew, the Andy Andrews. You know, one of the things we're going to talk about, he's come up with these basically seven principles, and but it's a lot. He got to it the same way we got to a lot of ours, is he went through some hard things in life and had to learn it, and then had to put it into practice and actually experience it before anything changed. You know, anybody who knows Andy, you know, he spent some time living under a pier on the Gulf Coast in Alabama, and actually brought himself up from that. This is the first book he wrote, Traveler's Gift, and couldn't get anybody to publish it. So, sticking to some of the principles we're going to learn in here, he ended up publishing it himself. And I think the good news about that is, when you publish it yourself, and you don't have to pay all those people, you get to keep all the money.
Right, that living under the bridge there, you know, that was in his next book, which is called The Noticer. I could relate with that, because a lot of individuals that I've been around, it takes getting to living underneath a bridge or some serious situation in their life. In the groups that we hang out with, we call it the gift of desperation. And from my understanding, the majority of men in this world, and women, live in desperation at all times. And we don't have to be there. So reading books like this and having mentors like an Andy Andrews and a few others, you know, we can finally get off that nail and start living a different way. And right at the beginning of this book, the character, David Ponder, has got himself in a pickle with his work. He was released from his job, couldn't find another job. His daughter was ill, she needed some surgery, and money was scarce, and he got him to the brink of that true desperation that we're speaking of. And that's where the story begins, is to show him, put him in that situation that a lot of us have experienced, either personally or from loved ones, of losing everything that we thought belongs to us, or not getting things that we think we deserve. And so, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, David's got the same life problems that a lot of us have. And, in his story, I think essentially, not to tell the whole thing, but he got behind the eight ball in the fact that his company went down. He tried to ride it out to save the company, but went down. He was an older person, so they weren't hiring any old executives at other companies.
Right.
And so he actually took to doing odd jobs just to keep it going until he found another job. And through some things, he lost that job, and it ended up being an emergency with his daughter that had to be taken care of. And anyway, so he finds himself where he's out of money, or as we used to say, out of airspeed, altitude, and ideas. And it's a level of pain and fear that can bring about change, and I think that's where we're starting.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So the first character that he meets there in his dismay is Mr. Truman.
President.
Yes, President Truman. And he's meeting him over in Germany, I believe, right? In Potsdam, or?
Yeah, yes.
So that first meeting with Truman, Truman's making a big decision about dropping the bomb, and it's ultimately taking accountability for your actions, and that's the message that Truman's relaying to Ponder. Ponder at the beginning, he's completely befuddled as far as where he is, why he's there, what's happening. And it was really interesting, the conversation between Truman and Ponder. Once Ponder realized what's really going on, that he's here to learn a lesson.
Before you get too far, I just came across this as I was flipping the pages, going back, and we can flip this. But we do some video magic maybe.
Right.
But anyway, this kind of describes where David was whenever he gets fired from his part-time job, or his make-do job. And it says here, David pulled onto the show, so he's driving out. He says, "Oh God." He said aloud, "Oh God." He stopped and was silent for almost a minute. "Oh God," he began again. After another minute, he put the Colt, which is the car he was driving, into gear and moved back into the highway. "I can't even pray," he thought. So, Willie Nelson has a song, one of my favorite singers. You're probably going to hear his name from time to time. Maybe from time to time.
Right.
But he has a song that he wrote. It's called "Too Sick to Pray." So, go check out that song. It's a little bit older song, but it really describes us in a lot of ways. And then he finally, he gets to the surrender, the part where he finally surrenders. In a way, he's basically given up. It says, basically, it gets down to the part, "I still have life insurance," he thought. "Would they be better off without me? Would everyone be better off without me?" And that's kind of the jumping off point I'm talking about. Sorry, I just came across that. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I think that those things, those are pinnacle things in this world that have to happen in order for us to finally shut up and listen. Because when we still think we have control, We still think that we can figure this shit out. Most of the time, we're gonna tear some things up. You know, we're gonna destroy it a little bit more. But getting at that moment where your hands are up and like, what do you got? You know, I think that's that jumping off point. And to be honest with you guys, just to shoot you straight, you know, until you get to that point, you're not gonna hear a lot of things. You know, there's a lot of signs out there that are screaming at you, yelling at you, and you can't hear them.
Ominous warning signs.
Ominous warnings, right?
We fail to heed.
Yes, I failed to heed multiple. I still fail to heed them today. But that's where he is, and that's why at this moment, you know, he's finally heeding and starting willing to listen to some other information. So we're talking about President Truman. He's in there. Now, in the story, nobody can see David except for Truman or the other characters that he is going to meet with. So it's basically, you know, an opportunity to be one-on-one with some of the greatest minds and activists and leaders of all realms, to get them to share as much information as they can. So,
Yeah. And he's, I don't know if we made the point, he's traveling through time here, I
Yes.
think. And so, you know, he shows up when Truman's making some big decisions.
1945.
1945, yeah. So, things were about to blow up. I think.
Literally. Literally gonna start blowing.
That was cheap, sorry. You know, one of the things that points out that Truman was known for was he was not a bullshitter. You know, he would tell it like it is, he cut to the truth. And, you know, everybody loves the truth until it's applied.
Right.
Then we hate it. So, because, you know, usually it means, in a lot of ways, it means we're gonna have to change something we're doing.
Right.
You know, or we're not really getting away with what we thought we were, or, you know, even if we don't think we're getting away with something, we're not acting right. So,
Right. Yeah, that's funny you brought that up because David Ponder was talking to Truman and he said, give him hell, Harry. And Truman got a little pissed off. He says, I never give anybody hell. He snorted, he just tells the truth and they think it's hell. That was pretty funny. How David was bringing that up and Truman was like, you know, it's not that he gives people hell, he just tells people the truth and they feel like they're going through hell because of that.
Well, you know, cutting to some of the principles too, we say, you know, I believe that in experience, I think heaven and hell is here and now.
Right.
You know, and so if I'm not living in the truth, and then the truth comes along, it makes sense. I've kind of been living in hell.
Right.
You know, the rough part about it is a lot of times we don't realize it at the time, because we didn't get there. It took, you know, slowly over a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
We got there, the educational
Right.
variety
Right.
down the tubes there. And so we didn't notice it. We don't know how far down we are.
Right.
And then when the truth pops up, we're like, oh shit, that don't sound like fun.
Right. I think what you say it well when you said you basically you have to die.
Right. Yeah,
Right.
have to die of yourself.
Die of yourself in order to start hearing and seeing things differently. And that's where David is right now. He's finally died of himself and he's willing to listen, and he's hearing about Truman, about the decisions that he has to make in life and where he is, and how that can correlate in David Ponder's life and his dismay of what he's done. Here, right here, I really like this part where Truman's talking about offering a different perspective. He says the ultimate outcome of anybody's life is a matter of personal choice. Is that it?
Yeah.
All right.
It's like we've read this before.
Yeah. So, talking about that, we're talking about perspective. Like what Richard was talking about, that, heaven and hell is right here, right now. We choose to live in hell or we choose to live in heaven. By definition, heaven is the presence of your higher power. And sometimes we do have to go through hell to finally get to that presence and recognize it, that you don't have to be where you're at anymore. And that's what Truman's sharing with him right now. And he's alluding to the whole premise of this book is the 7 decisions for success.
Which kind of coincides with principles, decisions, but it's a decision to live by the principle.
Absolutely. And that is what they're talking about. The decisions are the principles to live by. I know for many years my tools or my principles were manipulation and theft and, a lot of the darker variety of tools. And it did move me along in life to a certain degree, but it always backed me in a corner to where there was no light, there was no sunshine, and it just compiled with negativity and more lies, and to the point where, nobody wanted to be around me, including myself. So, and talking about this first chapter here, along the way while I was doing that, I wasn't taking any accountability whatsoever for it. I was blaming my past, my childhood, my experiences, my wife, my friends, my boss, anybody I could point a finger at. I was blaming them for the decisions that I had to make, for the situations that I was in. By no means did I ever take accountability for my own actions.
Yeah, I think that, it speaks a lot to having to die of ourselves and we talk a lot about getting rid of the old way of thinking. And a lot of what you described, I experienced a lot of the same thing, but people hear our stories over time. They'll be locked in their brain. But anyway, I forgot where I was going with that.
Okay.
I'll think of it in a minute.
Well, going with that, what we're talking about, we go at the bottom of page 26, where...
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Talking about old ideas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, what we find, and one of our biggest things that we have to overcome when we start talking about old ideas, it's just not the old ideas, because you were talking about all the things we did to get here, what we live by, that selfish self-centeredness. And, we essentially just have to that's what got us here.
Right.
Was that way of thinking. So, a lot of other material we read talks about being prejudiced. And we do have a lot of prejudices when we get here, and what we're talking about is prejudice, prejudging without knowledge. In other words, we think we know the best way to do something, or we think this is the way we've always heard, or we were taught, or our culture says,
Right.
or whatever. So, first we have to put that aside, or at least put it on hold. And that's kind of the dying of ourselves before we can open some new ideas and start to really see, this kind of stuff we would have, back when I was struggling, this is cheesy bullshit.
Right.
But he makes a good point here on page 25, and this is Truman. He says, he's talking about what he's fixing to talk about, basically. For only by committing this principle to your heart, essentially experiencing it, will you be able to share its value with others. So until I learn the principle, or I learn it and then put it into practice and start using it, I'm not doing anybody any good. They're not going to learn from me telling them anyway. A lot of times, people are going to learn because they've noticed you've changed,
Right.
or they like something that you're doing and know they're attracted to.
Right. Yeah, and that's the key point there is principles are not meant to just read and let it be. Principles are a way of living, it's a way of action. You know, how you respond and react to conversations, situations, it doesn't matter. That's what the principles are. They're not those little things you hang up on a wall and just, you know, think about them once in a while.
Right.
You know, it's a different way of life.
Right. Make your, what are those dream boards called, that you make a collage, and
Oh,
put
yeah,
up,
yeah.
and all that stuff's gonna automatically come to you?
Right?
Yeah.
So,
I know some pictures you put up there. On yours.
Yeah.
It didn't work, did it?
No.
Mine didn't either.
So going back to that accountability and the principles and reaching that bottom point and taking ownership for your actions, Truman sits here and talks to David and says at the bottom of 26, I'm saying that outside influences are not responsible for where you are, and he says this multiple times, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, or financially. You have chosen the pathway at your present destination. Now, the first time I read this, it really pissed me off, I'll be honest with you. And I'll probably say this about 300 times in these meetings is, it was one of those moments where you want to throw the book.
Yeah.
You know, because, well, damn you.
Yeah.
Damn you for fucking calling me out,
Right.
you know? And it hurt, man. It hurt. I didn't want to move on with it because for a lifetime, it was never my choice for me, right? I always thought that it wasn't me. I was always influenced, you know, it was from my uncle or my grandpa or whatever it may be, some of my other mentors. But the truth was just what he's talking about here. They're not responsible for where I am mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, or financially. The pathway was chosen by me. So,
You know, when we get to this part, or maybe we get the news, so to speak, that,
yeah.
you know, we're looking at the problem in the mirror, because the
Right.
problem is us. And that's a good place to be if I can get to a point where I realize the problems aren't coming at me. The problems aren't the outside world coming and attacking me. The problems are actually coming from me.
Right.
It's from what I'm putting out there, what I'm doing, the way I'm living, the way I treat other people. And that
Absolutely.
creates all my problems. So the problems are actually coming from me. And when we get to this point, or we start to realize that, you know, you said that you were upset, and we all were when we get
Right.
here. Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
You know, I thought I was doing good stuff. And, or else, you know, when I got to recovery, I knew I wasn't doing good stuff, but
Yeah.
you wouldn't hear me say it.
Yeah.
So, but we don't know yet. We learn later as we kind of walk the path, but this is good news. This is good news that it's our fault. You know, it's one of those old ideas, you know, we grew up, our culture's always wanting to point the finger, so to speak, so we grow up not wanting the finger pointed at us.
Right.
In this case, though, I think it's, once we understand the solution, we're starting to understand it, it's good news that I'm the problem, that the problems are coming from me. Because I can do something about that. You know, if I choose to, if I start getting rid of my old ideas and stuff, I can change that.
Right.
But if it's the whole world coming at me, attacking me all the time, there's not a whole lot I can do about that.
Right.
You know? So I think there's some good news here. We just, you know, early on, or when it's not easy to see, or it doesn't make you feel any better when you're in the middle of it.
Right.
Even if you know, well, shit, I'm the problem, this is good news. It doesn't make me feel good.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's a little bit challenging because now I know, oh shit, there's some work, I got some work to do.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and you know, the actions are almost an afterthought, because it starts with your thinking.
Right.
And what Truman's talking about here, he goes, your thinking dictates your decisions. So
Right.
you're talking about the way you think, what is on the inside is coming out. And that reminds me of a joke. You want to hear a joke?
I do. My
Do
favorite.
you remember the Little Rascals?
I do.
Okay, there's, it's Alfalfa. He's the one with
Yeah.
the hair in the back.
The spike there.
And then there's Buckwheat,
Yeah.
all right? And then there was Darla, and they're sitting in class,
Uh-huh.
okay? And the teacher goes up and says, all right, we're gonna use government words today. We're gonna show
Government word.
government words,
Okay.
okay? So if anyone knows any terminology of the government, say the word and put it in a sentence.
Okay.
So Alfalfa's all excited and he raises his hand and teacher calls on Alfalfa and Alfalfa looks at Darla and it's all fancy and goes, legislative. Okay, Alfalfa, put it in a sentence. And he goes, the legislative branch is where laws are created.
All right.
She goes, that is great, Alfalfa. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
That's good.
And little Buckwheat starts raising his hand.
Uh-huh.
And she was like, okay, Buckwheat, what you got? Dictate. And the teacher goes, dictate? Well, how are you going to use that in a sentence? He goes, hey, Darla, how'd my dictate last night? So that reminds me of that because sometimes my thinking puts a bad taste in my mouth, if you know what I'm saying.
All right. We went there. I like how you went there. And, you know, you gotta always say you gotta break them in like you're gonna run them.
That's right.
So there you go.
That's right.
So
That's right.
follow that.
Exactly. Well, you go on to the next page and then David Ponder talks about, it's not my fault.
Right.
See, so my sense of humor, it's not my fault.
Right. I understand.
But Truman says you
Fall
should,
into the trap.
those words should never come out of your mouth.
That's right.
So,
It's not my fault because I can't fix it. It's not my fault.
that's right. It's just my dirty way of thinking.
Right. Not that that would have anything at all to do with it,
No. So you want to get to the meat and potatoes? You want to get to the part there about the whole first decision of success?
but. Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Let me see if I'm skipping things so we don't have to use magic word. No, it's, you know, we want to leave some room for people to read the book.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first decision for success, and you're going to see this same decision, the same principle in many religious books, spiritual guides, a lot of stuff. It's the accountability, the owning that you are where you are because of you, not because of your circumstances. One of my favorite phrases are circumstances are rulers of the weak. So this first chapter here with Truman is taking back control of that and not allowing the outside circumstances to control the inside. In fact, you learn how to utilize those circumstances as tools for opportunities for greatness. So here, the first decision for success.
I think too, it's good that he started here and it lines up in a lot of ways with a lot of spiritual things that we read or books that have some principles in them. And, you know, he's starting from the beginning of, a lot of people talk about acceptance,
Right.
you know, and they say acceptance is the answer. Which makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
I hear you.
Acceptance is not the answer. I mean, it can be an answer, but I think acceptance is a beginning. Acceptance is a realization, it's a starting point.
Right.
You know, it's not the answer. It's a starting point. Are there things that come that there's not a damn thing we can do anything about it, and we accept it? Yeah, we accept it as that's reality, and that's where that is at the moment.
Right.
But everything's subject to change. And my part is to be prepared and to spend the time and learn, and so that, you know, when it is time to change and move on what I've accepted, that I move in the right direction, or, you know, get some advice from some people, but whatever, except that this is the beginning, you know.
Right.
I am.
I think a lot of people misinterpret that whole acceptance as the answer, because even in that saying, you're looking at out here,
Right.
right? The true acceptance is looking at yourself. Do I want to be where I am right now?
Right.
Now, if I decide, yes, I want to be where I'm at, now there's the acceptance because I'm looking at myself, right? Once I know that this is where I want to be, now I'm going to have to change perspectives, perceptions, actions, right?
All ideas.
All of them, right? I need to start doing something different.
Something different.
Right? But a lot of people, for some odd reason, I don't know why they get it, it's a knucklehead thought process when the acceptance is am I going to accept that person? Am I going to accept that action? No. Am I going to accept my response and my reaction to that?
Right.
'Cause I can't change none of that stuff. The acceptance has to come from within, pointing at me. Then it can move forward,
Yeah.
right? And that's where we're getting in here, where the buck stops here. That's the first principle.
First principle,
The first decision is the buck stops here.
which was a Truman, who is known for saying that.
Yeah. Give them hell, Harry. The buck stops here.
It stops here. This is it.
Absolutely. You want to read it?
Let's read part of it that gets to the essential
Yeah.
part of it.
Well, let's read that first chapter, or the
Yeah.
first paragraph is
Okay.
really good. It says, "From this moment forward, I will accept responsibility for my past." That's a tough thing to do.
Yeah.
But if your ass is on fire and you're tired of fighting, and you're ready to relieve yourself of the bondage of self, right? You need to accept the responsibility for your past. I understand that the beginning of wisdom is to accept the responsibility for my own problems, and that by accepting responsibility for my past, I free myself to move into bigger, brighter future of my choosing.
Yeah.
You got another paragraph in there?
Yeah, I'll read the next one. Never again will I blame my parents, my spouse, my boss, or other employees for my present situation. Neither my education nor lack of one, my genetics, or the circumstantial ebb and flow of everyday life will affect my future in a negative way. If I allow myself to blame these uncontrollable forces for my lack of success, I will be forever caught in a web of the past. I will not look forward. I will not let my history control my destiny.
Well, I have a question about that. He says, never again will I blame my parents, my spouse. But there's gotta be some times when you can blame your spouse. I think there's, like, maybe 2 or 3 times a year, I think you're allowed to blame your spouse. A day, yeah. I think there should be a few moments when you can blame the spouse, but,
Well, I think you can.
yeah, I think so.
You just have to measure the progress of it.
Right.
And I like recordings.
Yes,
Send me a
absolutely.
recording of when you tell her.
Yes, that's what I want.
I want to see the look on her face.
Yeah. And hopefully she won't be watching this recording.
Right. That's.
All right. I am where I am today mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially because of the decisions I have made. Right here, this is when Andy Andrews is an asshole to me.
Yeah.
How dare he blame me for all my mental, my physical, my spiritual, my emotional, my financial issues.
Right. How dare he blame me for what I did?
Right? Blame me for what I did.
Yeah.
My decisions have always been governed by my thinking. That's where the dictates.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah. Therefore, I am where I am today, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially, because of how I think Today, I will begin a process of changing where I am mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially by changing the way I think. Now, Barry, how the hell do you do that?
Do it one day at a time.
I think
It's gonna take some, the stuff we're talking about, it's gonna take some effort and some doing. I mean, just some of the principles we talked about, we're covering, what we would call 4 through 9, which is courage to realize that, shit, I'm the one that did this.
yeah,
And integrity to
Right.
see my part in it, because there's a lot of things that we think, oh, I didn't have nothing to do with that.
yeah,
But if I look back down and I really, we actually write things down. But if I look back and I see every part, well, I could have done this better or that better. Somewhere in there, I had a part. It may or may not have been the deciding factor or the worst thought or the worst cause or whatever, but I had a part.
right,
And usually when I can find my part in there, that just kind of takes away that, but it takes some integrity, but that takes away that, resentment or that bad negative feelings I have for other people or the situation or the whatever entity it was.
yeah,
Once I realized, oh shit, I did this to me.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I do. And I know for me, and we're about to get into the next paragraph here, but it's exactly what I had to do, and I still do today, is I involve other people in my decision.
Yeah.
I've been on a different journey for quite a while now, but I still need advocates that have my best interests at hand, that are more financially sound than me, that are more spiritually sound than me, that are more physically sound than me, that I need to reach out to them and put my life in their hands for a moment so they can tell me what the hell to do. Because for some odd reason, I forget, or I think I can figure this out today by myself.
Right.
And usually, 99.9% of the time, it's a bold-faced lie to myself. I got a bunch of shit for sale over here, and I'm buying it.
Right.
So,
This side of the brain's mind.
yeah.
Well, I think one of the first things we learn if we're going to be successful is we have to have mentors in whatever we're doing, whether it's recovery, sports, work, whatever type of work we're doing. I would say even in family life, there's other families that we kind of relate to, or that maybe we allow to be our mentor, so to speak. But I mean, I've had mentors for a long time, and I think for people to say I have them, but you don't ever talk to them, or you don't ever call them,
Yeah.
you don't have them. You're not doing it. And here's the one aspect that I like, and I think I may have picked this up from Andrew somewhere along the line, I'm not sure, but here's the thing about it is my mentors, I've got 3 or 4 right now in different areas of my life, well probably 4 or 5, but they don't necessarily know that that's the position they hold.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because every now and then they'll do something and I'll go, I have to take them off the board. You know what I mean? Or else somebody else will come along, not just the grass is greener, but somebody can come along that can add something. And so, I add somebody. That doesn't mean I always take somebody off.
Right. I think that was Cam Haynes.
Was it?
I think so.
Yeah. I don't doubt it. But that's a big, shit, talk about changing your life and just through sheer will.
Right.
That crazy, man.
Mm-hmm. So when I said that, how the hell am I going to change the way I think, and I was talking about mentors, and that next paragraph says, first, my thoughts will be constructive, never destructive. So I need to have a positive outlook on everything. My mind will live in the solutions of the future, it will not dwell in the problems of the past. many people that I know and myself still at times dwell in the past. And the problem with that is that it will hold you back from reaching the future. It is, I call them meat hooks.
Yeah.
Some of them are so deep inside of you that first and foremost, you don't even realize that they're there. They've just been there for so long. And so when people come to you and are like, hey man, you know, you don't have to live like that. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
You know, I'm totally oblivious to how deep those meat hooks are, or even that they're there, you know? And to start playing with them
Yeah.
hurts.
Oh, absolutely. Well, even just the fact that we get to a point where we need to change.
Yeah.
You know, something needs, we realize the problems are coming from us. That tells me I need to do something, you know. I don't want to stretch that. We'll edit this part out.
Well, it goes to that one scenario with the one young man that lives in a garbage can in the back behind a restaurant that thinks he's made it,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And someone comes and knocks and says, hey, you know, you don't have to live here. And he's like, I'm fine.
Right. Well, I think the point I was going to was just the fact that we're here and we need to make these changes. That means we're doing the same thing over and over every day. We're doing the same thing that got us here. So we are essentially living in the past.
Right.
I mean, that's what, if I get up every day and I do the same exact thing, or I have my routine, which routine is good, it can make things a little economical and manageable, but I have to watch out for that, because, you know, if I do it for too long, too much, without change, I mean, there's some good consistency there, but you're always gonna be adding to it, but in a lot of ways, I'm living in the past, especially when it's negative.
Right.
You know, I'm not opening my mind to new ideas, which would be future.
Right.
In the past. That's where I was moving.
Yeah. Closing ourselves from the sunshine of the Spirit.
Yeah. That's it.
So then he goes on to say, and I will seek association of those who are working and striving to bring about positive changes in this world. I will never seek comfort by association with those who have decided to be comfortable. That right there, we could be talking about for hours.
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm not going to talk about it today. The whole concept of being comfortable, living comfortably, is, we can talk about that maybe the next time.
I was listening to Huberman the other day. I didn't hear the whole thing. I need to go back and listen to it. But he was talking to Goggins, who is the king of doing shit you don't want to do.
Mind over matter.
Mind over everything.
Yeah.
Everything
The
else.
master of the mind.
Right. And he was pointing out they've actually been able to measure, it's no longer a phenomenon, but they're actually able to measure that there's a place in your brain or a piece of your brain that every time you do something you don't want to do, it grows. And like if you're consistently doing stuff you don't want to do, that little piece of your brain grows and grows and gets a little stronger and a little stronger.
Okay.
So that, I don't know the whole thing, go watch the podcast or it was Huberman and Goggins, but I'll finish watching it too. But I think the whole point, it was a lot like, Goggins' idea of it is, we never really go into our mind to find out what we can, to challenge it, and the truth of the matter is, in a lot of ways, our mind is out to kill us.
Right.
And we're letting it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest stand I see in Goggins is he's decided he may kill himself by accident, but he ain't gonna let his mind kill him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, it makes sense. I mean, I'm not going to argue with the mind that wants to kill me because, look what I've done so far with this body.
Right.
It's like, dude, you suck.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my body back.
Well, I was cussing at this physical part that
Yeah.
Truman had to throw in there.
Right? Yeah, it's, you know, I'm been leasing this body for 49 years. This is the best that I got.
Well,
You know?
not to scare you,
Yeah.
but you could go another 13 or 14 years.
We'll see about that.
Yeah,
Let's see.
just to catch up.
So you got another good chapter or paragraph here you want to read?
I think I'm down at in the future when I'm tempted.
Yeah, go ahead.
When I'm tempted to ask the question, why me? So pity, self-pity, that's one of our biggest hurdles to overcome.
I do believe the phrase is a quart of liquid pity decks.
Yes.
Yes, you don't want to drink
I
that.
don't want to drink that. But that's, if you say, why me?
You're drinking pity deck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
you don't-
your what's that chugging game that's why
Yeah.
shotgunning it?
You're shotgun a quart of pity decks right there.
Okay. Why not me? Challenges are gifts, opportunities to learn. Problems are the common thread running through the lives of great men and women.
Yeah, that part right there, I hate it and I love it so much about the challenges are gifts, opportunities to learn. A lot of the mentors, physical, spiritual mentors that I look up to, they're the ones that in adversity, in those challenges, when shit hits the fan, I think Jocko Willink is one of my favorite ones. Is like good,
Good.
you know, and that's
I
just
hate it. I love it.
right.
I hate it.
That's
I love it.
That's rough. It's rough, but
I love to be the one saying it.
yeah,
Good.
good, yeah. To the other person.
One of my new guys is
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
You're right where you're supposed to be.
yeah. You just don't want it to be said to you.
I hated it.
Yeah.
Hated that.
But it's true though. I mean, that's why, you know, I started doing the journey of doing the ice cold showers in the morning. And afterwards I say good.
Good.
Because the thing is the rest of the day, shit's gonna come my way, but nothing is even close to how sucky that cold shower is. Not even close. I mean, I'll be honest, I got released from my job last week, and that cold shower still was worse
Oh, really?
than being let go at my job.
Right.
So,
So you get an opportunity to practice some of this.
yeah, so when I was released, I said, good. Yeah.
What are you finding?
What was that?
I said, you're getting to practice some of this.
Yeah.
What are you coming up with? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, just the whole knowing that everything is an opportunity, it's a whole nother mindset. It's just, you're about to get into, that chapter's done.
Mm-hmm.
However it ends, is not up to you,
Right.
right? You know, like it was talking about up here earlier, it was talking about God did not put me in the ability to always make right decisions. However, He put me in the ability to make decisions and then make them right.
Make the decision.
Right?
Right. That's it.
Same thing with shit that happens in this world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna look at this as an opportunity. There's my journey. I did what I was supposed to do where I was at. Now it's time to move on to the next challenge, the next opportunity. And man, I've never felt that way before in my life. When, you know, quote unquote, the bad shit happens, that I smile and say, cool,
Right.
let's go,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, it's not your first time to go through it. You
No.
know, we've both kind of been through it, but I think you've been through it a couple times here in the past half a dozen years.
That's because you're not employable.
No longer employable.
You are not employable.
I had been for 12
Right.
15 years. You're exactly right.
That's right. So problems are the common thread running through the lives of great men and women. And that's so true. If you look at all the amazing individuals out there and you look at the challenges and the shit that they've been through, especially like in this book where, you know, Truman, the things that he had to go through to get where he was at,
Right.
and the other leaders that we're going to read. And then you look at people like David Goggins and Cam Hanes and all those guys, where they were and where they're at now, and they're still not giving up. I mean, they're breaking boundaries upon, you know, they're breaking boundaries that nobody even thought were even there.
Yeah.
You know?
I like what Goggins says, where he says, you know, his dream or thought is, you know, we all go to heaven and they're gonna review our life.
Right.
God's gonna review our life, and they're gonna go, he doesn't wanna be up there going, well, we had you figured to be a Navy SEAL, but you bombed out of the Air Force, you couldn't hack it, so
Right.
we had to cancel that.
Yeah.
They would go, oh, you did this, and you did this, and, oh, by the way, we didn't have you pencil in for this, or
Right.
you added this, and you added this, several things, and
Yeah.
ended up going through, you know, all the branches, special operations, you know, of all the branches of the military training,
Yeah.
and some of them more than once. And I think he's probably the most trained freaking soldier we ever came out of our United States.
Yes, absolutely. So instead of saying the why me, we're supposed to say why not me.
Why not me?
Let's get busy.
I'm supposed to say thank you.
Yep. I will be prepared for something great.
Open the door and let it in.
Let's do this.
Have a seat. What am I going to learn?
All right. And that's what I want y'all out there to practice just for today. First and foremost is do like what Andy's talking about is first take responsibility of your past.
Yeah, for sure.
Take some ownership of it. You are exactly where you are financially, spiritually, physically, emotionally because of the decisions that you made. And just put it into practice for a day. Smile. When shit starts coming your way in traffic, someone cut you off at the turn, or in the grocery store, someone takes the last, whatever.
All right.
Smile and say thank you.
Yeah.
Say good. Let's get busy. Let's see
Yeah.
what else we got.
Or your wife leaves that bowl of dirty dishwater in the sink where all the dishes are clean, just in case you need to come back
Well,
2 hours later and wash something.
that's right. Well, it's an opportunity to
It's
clean.
an opportunity.
Yeah, because they're your dishes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that bowl ain't mine.
They're all yours.
I've been bitching about that bowl for 36 years.
So, I don't know. You got anything else to share?
I don't really. I look forward to doing this
Yeah.
with you, and we may have some people come along the way and help us out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't want to read the whole thing word for word, just kind of what's in there. It's some material that we find that matches up spiritually with other things we're doing. And
Yeah.
so hope there'll be a lot more, I hope.
Absolutely. So, that's all we have for this evening.
Yeah,
So,
that's all I got.
y'all go get busy.
All right.
All right. Bye.